Hi, my name is EJ Massa. A few months ago, somebody sent me a blog post with a recipe for Instant Pot wine. They sent me this because one of my more popular reviews was the Instant Pot review, and I always think of wine. I love the Instant Pot. I use it to make ribs, pulled pork, pork and sauerkraut, mostly pig-related dishes now that I think about it. I wonder if that's why I always have this strange dream. EJ, what have you done to my children? When will your terrible desires be satiated? I'm sorry, Nightmare Pig. I can't help it. And I won't stop. Anyways, this blog seems like it's appealing to the your aunt on Facebook demographic. You can clearly see it's trying to get that sweet, sweet SEO Venn diagram of Instant Pot recipes and moms who post Facebook wine memes. And he even includes one of those Facebook wine memes in his post. And you know what? More power to him. I mean, it's clearly a successful blog post. It's shared on today.com. I'm not shared on today.com. Maybe I need to put more pastel Facebook wine memes in my videos. More Facebook wine memes. Am I famous yet? My question is the Instant Pot necessary? Back in Prohibition days, they would sell grape concentrate in bricks with the warning, after dissolving the brick in a gallon of water, do not place liquid in a jug away in the cupboard for 20 days, because then it would turn into wine. That would be illegal. Don't do it. It's kind of like how Q-tips tell you not to use them in your ear canal, but I ain't listening to that. Feels too good. Yeah. Oh, so I'm going to do a test. I'm going to pit this wine recipe versus a YouTuber named Papa's grape juice wine recipe.
Folks, I just made a half a gallon of wine right there. That's all there is to it. How long did that take?
I think I've seen a window into the future. My future is Papa. I will become him. So it will be David Murphy's Instant Pot wine recipe versus Papa's wine recipe that doesn't use the Instant Pot. For the yeast, I'll be using this Red Star wine yeast. I got like a 10-pack of these for $6 on Amazon. Papa's recipe uses active dry yeast from the store, like what you use for bread, but that doesn't seem right. Seems like it would make your wine taste like a baguette or something. So first I'll make Papa's recipe. I have a bottle of 64 ounces of grape juice, 1.5 cups of sugar, and almost a half teaspoon of yeast. To ensure there's enough headroom in the bottle, I'll pour out 16 ounces of juice. Then I'll add a funnel to the bottle and pour in sugar and yeast. Feels weird to pour this much sugar into juice, which is already sugary, but apparently the yeast needs to eat. Screw the cap on tightly, then shake it for a few minutes until the yeast and sugar dissolves. Then I'll unscrew the cap and I'll listen to see if I can push air out of the bottle. We want air to be able to escape, but we also don't want bugs to crawl in. And to make sure the cap doesn't come off, I'll tape it down. I don't think it will, but this is to make sure. And then off to a dark and warm place that's roughly 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Now to prepare the Instant Pot recipe, which calls for 1 cup of sugar instead of 1/2 like Papa's recipe. I'm also going to use the same amount of yeast though, a half teaspoon. I'm going to pour out a cup of juice so I can pour in the sugar and shake it so it dissolves like the first recipe. But this time, we're going to pour this juice into the Instant Pot. I also poured back the cup I set aside. Close it up and use the yogurt setting, but make sure to adjust it to the less setting, which will keep the Instant Pot around 80-ish degrees Fahrenheit, which in theory will kick off fermentation. I've never used the Instant Pot to make yogurt, but that sounds kind of gross. And I'd probably kill myself. But for wine, I'm willing to take that risk. For my country. We're going to set the time of this guy to 48 hours, and make sure the vent is open for the first 6 to 8 hours. And then every 6 to 8 hours, you'll change it from vent to seal, and then the next 6 to 4 hours from seal to vent. I'm not entirely sure why I'm doing this, but the recipe calls for it, so I'm doing it. And just a side note, I sanitize the Instant Pot and anything that would touch the wine potentially, because you don't want to introduce any weird bacteria or bugs into the system. So make sure you sanitize everything, because you're a disgusting person, and everything you touch turns to poison. Now you could save the bottle and pour the Instant Pot wine back after it's done, but I just threw it away, because I didn't feel like keeping trash around. After a day, Papa's wine is already bubbling away, and after 2 days, you can see a lot of activity in the Instant Pot wine as well. Since I threw away my bottle, I'll do the next stage of the fermentation in this sterilized half-gallon mason jar. Pour the juice in there. You can see it's gotten pretty foamy. For a seal, I'm going to use these strange waterless fermentation lids. These are silicone tops with like this nipple and a small slit to let air out. and hopefully it won't let anything in. We'll screw on the lid and see how that works. You can also get these kinds of lids with the water locks, which traditionally people have used. Not all the liquid could fit in the jar, so I had some cloudy, fizzy stuff left over. I decided to take a little sip to see what it was like after 2 days in the Instant Pot, and it's not as bad as I thought. It's grapey and fizzy and has a slight beer taste. It doesn't taste like wine yet, and it's not too boozy. Now it's time to leave this guy for about a month. I know it may be tempting to mess with your wine while it ferments, but just leave it be. Let it do its thing. Don't poke it, don't prod it. Just let it do its work. And you'll see a week later, it's still bubbling away furiously. Both Papa's wine and the Instant Pot one. And you'll see that I've added a couple other wine experiments in the meantime. I mean, I got the yeast, and I have a problem, so I'll make more wine. And that's the beauty of yeast. It eats sugar and produces alcohol, and I feel that's pretty similar to me. Except I eat alcohol and produce violence. Now, after an excruciating month of waiting, the bubbling has stopped. The tops of the liquid are still like a stale cup of coffee, and that's when you know it's ready to drink. You can even see all the dead yeast and sediment at the bottom. Let me have a sniff of it. Yep. Smells like grapes. Mostly grape juice. Not much else, at least from this angle. Now at this point you could rack the wine using a tube like this and put it in a new container, so you can take all the liquid from the top without getting any of the sediment at the bottom. But I'm going to pour it carefully into the glass. And as you can see, the color of the juice has changed to something a little more translucent. And I'm happy I get to pour my liquid and use my slow motion mode on my camera. Really amps up the production. Anyways, Papa's wine looks quite different from grape juice. It has transformed into something altogether different. Now the Instant Pot wine. It also looks different from grape juice. Maybe a tad darker than Papa's? Maybe just slightly, but still more translucent than grape juice. Now on to the taste test. I've been waiting a month for this, you know? I need to self-medicate my overwhelming anxiety with hobo wine. Okay, so I have my 2 glasses of wine here. They have been randomized for me, so I don't know which one's which. They're labeled on the bottom of the glass, so I'll be able to tell after the fact. So let's do my first wine here. Do a little snifferoo. It smells like grape juice with a little bit of communion wine smell. Like I was an altar boy for a number of years. Nothing happened, but it definitely smells like communion wine with Welch's grape juice. So let's try it. It's sweet. Yeah, it's a little too sweet. Oh, you can feel the alcohol. Ooh. You can feel it. It's good. I mean, it's very sweet. If you like sweet wines, this one would be for you. So let's try this next one. So you know what? I'm gonna get some crackers because this is what wine tasters do, right? Like have a cracker in between. Cleanse the palate. Wine A that I just tasted. Sweet, juicy, with definitely some alcohol in there. Very good. The alcohol's the best part. Now, the next one. Definitely, it's the same smell, the grape juicy communion wine smell. So, cheers. Not as sweet. I would say it doesn't taste as juicy as the first one that I tasted, so it's maybe a little more of that communion wine taste and less of a juice taste and less of a sweetness. So if I were to guess, I would say this is the Instant Pot wine because it used less sugar, and this is Papa's recipe. So let me see. Yep, there's an I, Instant Pot. And this one is a P for Papa's. So honestly, I think I'd prefer Papa's because it's not a very good wine. It doesn't produce a very good wine, this grape. So I think I'd prefer more of a sweetness to mask that. Because on its own, it's flat, it's not very complex, and that's probably why people, put a lot of acids and all these other things, and they age them in oak barrels and put tannins and all sorts of stuff, because if you don't do that, you have a flat, weird wine. So in conclusion, I don't think the Instant Pot did anything. The only difference, I think, is just in the sugar content, really, because they both have that communion winey taste, but this is just a little sweeter. And I don't think you really need the Instant Pot to kick off fermentation, unless maybe you have like a really drafty house, which is like 60 degrees, then maybe that's a good way to kick it off. But I mean, I have a basement that's pretty hot. It's always around 70, so this one fermented fine. They seem to have, taken the same amount of time to ferment. Took about a month. The Instant Pot was an unnecessary thing, which you can use to write an article that will get clicks because it says Instant Pot wine. But other than that, it's completely unnecessary. Now I'm using it so I can get clicks on my video. This is how it all works. Anyway, at least I have 2 wines. It's not all bad. 2 wines. Anyways, until next time, bye.